Hi booktube and booktubers and readers and just bookish people in general. Welcome to another review. The book of the day is one that I've just finished. The Woman at Belguardo. Not sure how to pronounce that. It doesn't look like an English word, but the location is actually an English village in which a rich woman is found in her home, murdered, and then proceeds an investigation into how and where. I've got this beautiful little penguin copy. I do like the Penguin Green Crime series. This one's less green than usual. Normally there's a green spine, but I do enjoy the eeriness of that cover as well. Its cover photograph is by Dennis Rolfe, and I do really like they credit that. This was published in 1961, so I think I'm still fair in calling it a kind of 50s fiction. And I've been reading a lot of 50s books recently, and there's something about the pacing that I really enjoyed. I read this one as a bit of a palate cleanser, a bit of, I don't know, mind easing, I guess, because you just go along for the ride. You don't expect any huge revelations. You don't expect anything different. It's just a little bit of fun. Now, Margaret Erskine, who I know I've read more of, though I don't seem to have many more books of hers on the shelf. They probably disintegrated over time. When I tried to Google her, I found out that Margaret Erskine was the mistress of one English king, or rather in the 1500s. And Margaret Erskine in this case is the writing name used by Doris Margaret Weatherby Williams, who was born in 1901 and died in 1984. Her pseudonym must have been partly her own name, Margaret, but I do wonder if it actually had anything to do with the historical person who was the mistress of King. I think it was James. Now, here's an interesting thing that I've been ruminating about since I finished this book. It's fascinating how many novels and how many authors like this out there they are. There's Margaret Erskine, there's Allingham, there's a whole heap of them who wrote these. They didn't call them cozy murder mysteries, but these days I guess they'd be called cozy murder mysteries that you read for fun with not terribly high expectations. And I find it fascinating that Agatha Christie is a household name. She's been translated into nearly every language that has books published, but other ones like Allingham, Erskine, Tay are less well known. Because honestly, this book has many of the same cadences and tropes that a lot of Agatha Christie's novels have made famous. I will say overall that it's a meatier book and that it is better written with better characterization. So this has 223 pages, but it took me quite a few days to get through because the writing was strong enough that one's involvement in the story was heavier than it would be in at least some of Agatha Christie's later novels, which tended to go very fast. Okay, enough of comparisons. So this one it actually starts with a character who is living in the countryside. She's Mrs. Worry. I've forgotten her first name. It might have been Helen. No, Harriet. Harriet Worry. And it starts with her character and the character of her husband, who used to be a top-notch doctor in London, had some sort of a medical issue, a breakdown, had to retire to the country for his health, and her brother, because Mrs. Worry herself was originally from the area, her brother's still living there. And we're given all these characters as a background for the moment at which this wealthy woman, Lisa Harcourt, is found dead in her house called Belguardo. There we go. Remote Kent village of Paradon. Haha, I never actually read the back of it. So much extra information there. Anyway, we start with Mrs. Worry and her husband, and we've set up for this knowledge that Lisa Harcourt, while she was a wealthy woman and well known in the village, she was from there, she obviously liked playing with men's affections. That sounds so 50s, doesn't it? It's a great phrase. And maybe she wasn't the most beloved person. Anyone hearing of her death none of them were saying, "Oh no, I will miss her so much," or "Oh no, she was such a wonderful person." It was like more like, "Oh no, a murder has happened. That's bad." So there's that. Anyway, once it becomes obvious that the town is going to blame David Worry, not David Worry, Mrs. Worry's brother David Frey. She was a Frey when she was young. She decides to take steps, and her steps are to make sure that the person in charge of the investigation calls in Scotland Yard, specifically Inspector Septimus Finch. Now, I didn't have much of a look about this book online before I bought it and before I read it, but apparently all of Margaret Erskine's books had the same character running through it, and that was Inspector Finch. This is apparently Inspector Finch number 12, but the fact that I don't remember Finch at all doesn't matter. In actual fact, he isn't a really strong character. He's not a character who in himself catches the eye or catches the reader. He doesn't have strong characteristics. If any of the earlier books build up his character or his likes or dislikes or his background, it's not alluded to in any way here. What he does is he comes in with another police assistant and starts going through the town. And that's what this book is. It's going through the town, the different characters, who has a play in her death, what the relationships were, what did the maid see? Did she see something? Is she trying to blackmail? And you've got this marvelous whirl of characters, and by the end of it, you've got a mental image in your head of this village and everyone who lives in it. And basically the whole village has become a place where you feel that you would recognize it and some of the people if you happen to walk into. So just by examining everyone for involvement, motives, etc. And this is an interesting one in that it starts with very few people having motives. There's only really one or two motives, but as they open up the life of Lisa, there become more and more motives, including her ex-husband, who a few months ago she'd asked him to divorce her. When he said no, she proceeded to get a young lover, that was David Frey, and start parties and things that she knew would annoy him until he agreed to divorce her. There was the wealthy figure to whom she had been just about to become engaged when she was murdered, because she had only just met him in Rome a few weeks back, except was all of that lies? I mean, I'm telling you it was, so you know it is. Anyway, the fact that you don't know who done it, and you don't know all the people who could have done it, and you don't know exactly what's going to happen, is completely aside to the enjoyment of the writing. It's just this stream of experience, like watching a calm, non-emotionally invested movie. And I really enjoyed it, and I really do recommend it if you like those sort of things. If you are an Agatha Christie fan, and I know there's many Agatha Christie fans out there who mourn the fact that there's only a certain number of books and reread them. If you're one of those people, first of all, thank you for watching this channel. I know it probably isn't your cup of tea. But second, I really think you should expand into Margaret Erskine and some of the others, because a lot of the things that make Agatha Christie so noteworthy are these English settings and scenarios, unless you're into Hercule Poirot, in which case less so. But yes, there are many, many other really fun, cozy style 50s to 60s mysteries that well deserve the attention that they're not getting. So thank you for watching. And read good books, and I'll try and go back to science fiction next. There's a lot of science fiction on that shelf just waiting for me to read it. But we'll see. Whatever it is, I'm sure I'll read a good book, and you should too. Bye.